Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into something incredibly important, restoring your mental health, hidden signs and small wins. We're going to look at a highly accessible clinical roadmap for really understanding and navigating depression. Whether you're here for yourself or maybe you're trying to figure out how to support a loved one, we're breaking down the hidden signs and diving into some seriously effective, research-backed strategies that can actually help restore your mental health. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this first idea because this quote just completely reorients how we need to think about depression. Depression doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion. It is incredibly common to feel completely disconnected or just numb, and then mistakenly think, well, I'm not crying all day, so I must not be struggling. If that resonates with you, I really want you to hear this. That is a completely valid, deeply recognized experience.
We've really got to dismantle this stereotypical image of depression. Society loves to paint this picture of constant tears and sadness, right? But the reality? Often, it's just going through the motions of your day while feeling utterly bone-tired, exhausted, and totally disconnected from the world around you. It's this heavy, deep-seated belief that nothing is ever going to get better. If that sounds familiar, you are not broken, and you are absolutely not alone. This is literally one of the most common mental health struggles on the planet. And while it feels incredibly permanent right now, I promise you, it isn't.
Now, just a quick aside before we really get into the strategies. Please remember, this explainer is strictly for educational purposes. It's not a substitute for a professional diagnosis or treatment. We're covering some amazing clinical strategies today, but if you or someone you love is in crisis right now, please reach out to a licensed professional or a crisis helpline immediately. There is absolutely support out there for you.
Section 1. The hopelessness loop.
Now, what's really fascinating and challenging about this is the concept of hopelessness. It's one of the most painful parts of depression. But here's the thing. Hopelessness isn't actually a reflection of reality. It is quite literally a symptom of the condition. It's like this quiet, persistent little voice lying to you, saying things will never change, that your effort doesn't matter at all, and the future is just going to be more pain. It literally distorts your perception of time, tricking your brain into thinking the way you feel right this second is how you're going to feel forever. Recognizing that this is just a temporary state and not a permanent truth, that is our very first step forward.
So, how does this actually play out? Well, hopelessness usually drags along low self-esteem, this relentless, harsh self-criticism. And this creates a very real clinical feedback loop. You start with that low self-esteem, feeling like you just aren't capable, which then directly tanks your motivation. Naturally, zero motivation leads to inactivity. You just stop doing things. And then, here's the kicker. That inactivity actually reinforces your original belief that you're failing. It's a closed, exhausting loop. But there is absolutely a way to break it.
Which brings us to Section 2, Mastery through Small Wins.
When we're depressed, our brains love to default to what psychologists call all-or-nothing thinking. You know the drill. We convince ourselves that unless we accomplish something massive, it just doesn't count. To fight this, we have to set goals so unbelievably small, they feel almost ridiculous. Too easy. We're talking micro-habits here. Making your bed, drinking one single glass of water, sending just one email, stepping outside for exactly 5 minutes.
So the crucial point here is that this isn't about the size of the task at all. It's about building a micro-narrative of momentum. By doing the tiny thing, you are giving your brain direct, undeniable evidence that you are capable of following through. Each one of these tiny wins acts like a little chisel, just chipping away at that massive wall of hopelessness. Over time, these actions compound, they rebuild your self-trust, and they create genuine momentum.
Moving on to Section 3, Rewiring the Negativity Bias.
If your brain naturally defaults to scanning the room for negatives right now, well, it's actually a fascinating, if totally frustrating, documented phenomenon called the negativity bias. Depression inherently narrows your attention. It forces you to fixate entirely on what's going wrong while actively filtering out anything positive. Knowing this is a total game changer because it helps you realize you aren't purposely being pessimistic. Your brain is just stuck in this very specific clinical filtering habit.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can fight back using simple gratitude exercises. And no, I don't mean toxic positivity. We are definitely not forcing fake smiles or pretending everything is awesome. We're just intentionally redirecting our attention. Just ask yourself, what is one small thing today that didn't go completely wrong? Maybe it was a warm cup of coffee, a quick text from a buddy, or just 5 uninterrupted minutes of total quiet. Writing down just one sentence a day about something that didn't go terribly begins to gently soften that harsh mental habit of negativity.
Okay, Section 4, Behavioral Activation in Action.
From a clinical standpoint, depression straight up kills your motivation before you even get out of the starting gate.
you are not going to feel like doing anything. But there's a psychological principle called behavioral activation, and it tells us a little secret. Motivation frequently follows action, not the other way around. You literally have to act first. Schedule a short walk, or purposefully put on your favorite song and treat it like an unbreakable appointment with yourself.
Now, I want to be super clear. You probably won't feel excited before doing it. And guess what? That is perfectly okay. The goal here is consistency, not enthusiasm. You are just showing up to do the thing. Because over time, simply going through the motions of re-engaging with rewarding activities actually rebuilds your brain's physical capacity to feel pleasure and connection again. It's like working out a muscle.
Let's look at Section 5, Challenging Distorted Beliefs. Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly effective tool from cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, called the thought log. When you catch a really strong negative thought, like, I literally always mess everything up, you grab it and write it down. Then you get to play detective. Ask yourself, what evidence actually supports this thought? What evidence totally contradicts it? Is there maybe a more balanced way to look at this? This simple, structured exercise creates this vital distance between you and your thoughts. You stop accepting every negative idea as the absolute truth and start seeing them as just things to be examined.
But listen, none of the strategies we've talked about today are instant magic fixes. Healing is absolutely not linear. In fact, progress with depression often looks exactly like this. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And you know what? That is still progress. You are still moving forward even when it feels a little messy.
Finally, Section 6, Restoring Your Mental Health. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer today, please hear this. Reaching out to a therapist, a counselor, or honestly just a trusted person in your life is a profound sign of strength. It is not a weakness. You deserve support. You really deserve to feel better. And feeling better, it is entirely possible.
So, I want to leave you with a provocative, empowering question to really chew on. What is one small win you can claim today? Seriously, maybe it's just drinking that single glass of water or catching one distorted thought and calling it out for what it is. Whatever it is, I invite you to take that very first tiny step today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Take really good care of yourself and keep moving forward.